So yay, thank you everyone for showing up on this rainy, crazy day where you had power outages and rain and wind and storms and everything. So those of you who are able to be here, I appreciate that. So I'm Leslie Wilson, as you know, but Leslie Wilson, and I've been doing EFT or emotional freedom techniques. That's the tapping part, which will be the first half. I forgot to mention that part. So we'll be doing EFT tapping for the first half and teaching you, and we'll be doing some guided parts for that too. Also, it's going to be a little bit more general for the tapping. Normally one-on-one, I get very deep and specific with what's happening within somebody and inside their subconscious mind. But for the purpose of today, we're just going to leave it more general tapping, which means it might not go as deep for you, but you'll have a feeling for what it's all about. Okay? So I've been tapping for about 10 years-ish. And I started because I went to a training I'm a school psychologist, and I went to a training for that, for work. And at the end of the training, the woman who was giving the training says, well, I have this technique, and it wasn't part of her training, but she says, if you want to learn it, you can stay after. And she said that her son had stopped eating. He was like 2 at the time, or 2.5. And he had choked on something. And then after he almost died, and then after that happened, he stopped eating. And so then he almost starved to death because he was refusing to eat. And so then they did this tapping on him, and after they tapped on him, he started eating again. So, and then he was fine. He was totally fine after that. So I went home, and I kind of taken notes about how to do it, and I went home, and I told Todd, my husband Todd, about it. And I was like, well, I don't know what this is, but let's try it on something that was an issue for him. And we did, and it completely, the problem just completely went away. He was like, that's crazy. Yeah, so he was just like, I don't know what just happened, but that's not a problem anymore. So then I was so intrigued by it that I'm like, I need to know more about this and how to do it and what's happening. So of course, I geeked out on it, and I went to trainings. I got fully certified in it. And then after getting fully certified in that, and I went through a lot of my own personal journey as part of that process. So when you're taking the certification process, you get your own, therapy, right? It's not considered therapy, but you're getting your own work on yourself as you're going through it. So I was clearing all kinds of things in my own life, and I just saw these changes happening in my life. So I started coming out of my shell, right? I used to be pretty shy and reserved, and I probably still am to some extent, but not as much as I used to be. I'm more social. I'm more socially comfortable. I used to be kind of socially, I'm not to say socially awkward, but I was more socially uncomfortable before, and now I'm more comfortable around people. I started just being able to do things that I was afraid of before, so I was able to clear some of those fears and be able to take care of those. I also went through this whole process where I hated my job, and part of that was just I think I was partly depressed as well, not like full clinical depression, but I think that I was going through a depression and just working through all of those issues, and I was able to do that with tapping. And really doing a lot of personal self-growth work on that. So that's what brought me here, and then I continued and did more training, right? So then I got certified as a coach with a woman named Carol Look. She's sort of one of the gods of tapping. I say God, but she's one of the big wigs in the tapping world. So I went through and did a whole coaching certification with her and got training on how to use coaching as part of it. And then I also got another coaching certification, and then I got certified in something called energy psychology, and that is something that we're going to be covering with the invisible counselor today, and the meditation is going to be part of that too, so you get to experience the world. So the wild world of your subconscious mind, and it's fascinating. So I'm excited to hear, because you will be sharing, those of you who want to, will be sharing at the end what your experiences are today. It's so interesting, so I can't wait to hear what happens with you today. So, okay, and then also I just wanted to mention the meditation part. It's a special meditation called eco meditation. Have you heard of it, Annette? Eco meditation? Okay. So they actually have done studies with this specific meditation where they hook people up and check their brain waves. And it is designed to lower the beta or the monkey mind. And then also just help get you into that deeper meditation more quickly than just trying to sit and emptying your mind, right? So just focusing on the things we'll be focusing on during the meditation will help with that, okay? So tapping is, is there anybody who's never heard of tapping or doesn't know what it is at all? Okay, I'm still gonna go over it. So tapping, if you've ever heard of acupuncture, most of us have heard of acupuncture where we're using needles within our meridian system. So the meridian system being the energy system of the body. And most people will go to a acupuncturist for some type of physical ailment. Usually, it can sometimes be emotional, but most people go for physical reasons. So it uses that same energy system of the body, except instead of putting needles in your body parts, inner parts of our body, we were gonna use our fingertips. And I will be tapping on myself while you mirror me and tap on yourself. You'll be copying what I do, okay? And so we're gonna tap on the end points of that meridian system in order to stimulate the amygdala. So what happens emotionally is we get charged. Somebody does something and it upsets us, or we just have a specific way of thinking that we're stuck in. All kinds of reasons that we would use, all kinds of issues that we have in our lives, all kinds of problems. It could even be back pain, right? It could be something that we have in our lives that's an issue. And then that will cause our amygdala to fire. Let's say somebody makes us angry and we go into fight or flight and our amygdala is firing, and that tells us we need to either fight, flee, or freeze, right? And so what happens is our amygdala is firing, and then we tap, and the tapping calms the amygdala, it brings it down. And so our amygdala cannot be excited and calm at the same time. And so, tap for the coughing. calm and excited at the same time. And so what happens is it tells the body that you're safe and you're okay, even though in your mind, you're stressed out and you're thinking about this thing that's upsetting you and whatever. That can no longer be the case once you calm your amygdala. So when you think about the car accident you were in that normally gets you upset, now you can be calm when you're thinking about that car accident, right? It doesn't have to keep getting you worked up and excited. So some of the things that we can use it for, like a trauma, right? A car crash, or let's say somebody was abused when they were little and it's causing all kinds of things in their adult life. PTSD, if somebody comes home from war and they've experienced PTSD, or PTSD for many other reasons, or just those would be called big traumas or big T's. We also might have little traumas, or little T's could just be like, I don't know, when you were 5, you tripped over something and somebody laughed at you, right? And because you fell in front of them, and so they laughed at you, and that could be what's called a little T. But in your mind, you might have this huge fear of somebody laughing at you, right? If you try to do something new, right? So those little incidents that happen when we're children can actually be affecting our current adult life.
What is little T?
So little T is a little trauma. So a little trauma, the little trauma is the trauma that most people would not consider a big, but it still is affecting us as adults. Maybe it's something that happened yesterday, or maybe it's something that happened 30 years ago. And it's still affecting us, even though it wasn't something major like a car crash. It's still affecting our energy system, okay? We can also use tapping for current stressors. You're just stressed out because your workload at work. You've got too much, you've got deadlines, you've got too much to do. That might be like you're just stressed, okay? We could use it for pain or medical issues, like I was saying, like maybe back pain. It is my belief that all physical issues are tied to some type of emotional. She's got something emotional going on over here. So,
what should I do?
Yeah, so I'm going to just show her something really quickly. The lung meridian is the side of your thumb right here. So go ahead, Jody, and you can tap on the outside, that side of your thumb, and that's going to calm the lung meridian. So just keep tapping on that, okay? And you guys can send her that energy of that calming. So Frank, it's going to be on the outside side. And same with you, Marta. You're going to tap on the outside side of your thumb. So I wasn't planning on showing you guys the finger points today, but we're going to show the finger points. And so Frank, it's going to be the outside side of your thumb to the side. So if you take your fingernail, the base of your fingernail, and you're going to go out to the outside side of on the side of your thumb that lines up with your fingernail, that's your lung meridian. Okay, she's coughing less already.
On the inside or the outside?
The outside.
This
That side. Mm-hmm. So Evelyn, you're going to go on the outside. Yep. Other side right there. So outside. Yep, right there, and you're going to tap right there. That's the lung meridian.
It does really seem to help. I've had nasal allergies from
Okay.
yoga.
Where's the money meridian? What finger's that?
That's where we get into tapping the reasons that that's where the coaching comes in with the tapping, and we get into all the reasons that you might not have money in your life, right? We can work on belief systems, for example, where, what are your beliefs about money? Rich people are bad, or I never have enough. So these are some core belief systems that we could have that we were raised with, or that now we have because we got that belief later on. So an example might be, can I use you as an example? Is that okay? Your dad is an example?
Is that what I get for speaking up?
That's what you get for speaking up. We talked about this the other night. You know better than to speak out in a meeting. So his dad, he was screwed over by business partners on more than one occasion, right? So Todd was raised in a household where if I have a business and I have a partner, then I've learned that that's what's going to happen to me. If I try to have this business and I become successful, then I'm going to get screwed over. So now that's his world. That's going to be his worldview because that's what he was raised with. So that's an example of what we're taught growing up, whether our parents are trying to teach that to us or not. Right? That's just how it happened. I was raised in a household, financially, I was raised in a household where wealthy people are bad people. Right? So if I become a wealthy person, now I'm going to be a bad person. I can't be a wealthy person. That'll make me a bad person. So I don't want to be a bad person. I don't want my family to reject me. That goes even deeper, right? Now my family's going to reject me if I have money. So we can't have that. I better stay poor, right? or make just enough to be comfortable, but not enough to be wealthy, right? I can make enough to be like middle class. That's okay. But we can't be wealthy because I'd become a bad person if I did that. So, or my family would think that I was a bad person. So pain, getting back to that, or physical issues are tied to some other emotional reason. That's what I believe, that all physical issues are. So, so we can also tap on triggers. It could be somebody called you a name, somebody was mean to you, somebody just does something that is a repeat from like something your brother or sister did when you were little, and that really irks you because it really bothered you that your brother or sister did that to you, and now that person's doing the same thing. And so you're getting upset at work to a coworker, even though it has nothing to do with that coworker, right? It has to do with your brother or sister growing up. And then we can use tapping for the bigger issues like money, right? Finances. We can use it for bigger changes like life change, weight loss, relationships. We can improve our relationships, or we can realize that the relationships we're in are not healthy, and then we can get out of that relationship. We can get our inner strength by using tapping and finding that inner strength within us. So there's all kinds of ways that we can use tapping in our life, besides just an immediate issue that we want to tap on to make ourselves feel better. Weight loss is another one. There's a lot of things tied in with weight loss. And all of these issues, we also, when I use it with coaching, I always ask, what is the benefit of keeping your problem? So the benefit of keeping weight might be, well, let's say it's a female who was molested as a child. And if I lose weight, then I'm going to start attracting attention from the opposite sex. And I don't like it when that happens. Maybe she went on a diet and now she started getting attention, and then she's going to put the weight back on because now all of a sudden. So we always have to examine like what is the benefit of keeping our problem, whatever that problem is, and what is the downside to getting rid of our problem. So, and there's always going to be a downside to getting rid of the problem. There will always be an upside to keeping the problem. Otherwise, we wouldn't have it, right? We would have eliminated that from our life. So we have to examine that. So I have a few people here who have tapped with me, or a couple people. Does anybody want to share their experiences with? I'm going to call on Jody here to share their experience with tapping.
The benefit of being the guinea pig when she was getting certified, and she helped save my life, really, is how I look at it back in the day. And yeah, it was, I remember saying to you, you know, you need to tap with my partner, because otherwise I'm just going to tap right out of the relationship, because I was having so many realizations and so many things arising from like those connections that you may not be able to see otherwise from childhood or whatever, what makes you be, you know, in a certain type of dynamic as an adult. So it was really, really powerful.
Do you have a specific example of like something that you don't necessarily
Well, I
have to get
remember just bawling my head off every time we did it, just sobbing and sobbing and sobbing.
And that's not always the case. But,
No,
you know,
it's not always the case,
yeah.
but apparently I had a lot of stuff to get out of there, you know? And I don't know, I just felt myself getting happier and happier and happier as time, sorry, maybe it's probably, you know. I just found myself getting happier and happier as time would go on, and stronger and stronger. That's what I really recall, is just feeling week after week, like stronger.
Getting
and
rid of
stronger.
that week, yeah. Getting,
My fears were dissipating.
and that's it too, right? Those fears of the reason you're holding on to things, clinging on to things, and then for a fear or something that's happening, and then that you don't need that anymore. And when that goes away, now your inner strength can come up. And I have another tapper over here.
Well, it was something that I had a soda addiction, and I didn't understand where it came from, ever. But we were tapping, and all of a sudden, I got a memory of when I was so little, I was drinking out of like a sippy cup, Pepsi. My mom used to feed me Pepsi. And this memory came back, and I was just like, I forgot about it, tucked it away, but it was like, I equated that with like love, I guess, from my mom, right? So I had this massive soda addiction. So I called her and I said, and I wasn't mad, I was just like, did you give me Pepsi in a sippy cup? She's like, oh, well, we didn't know any better. And she got all defensive, right? Like, you know, doctors are telling you to drink it. So anyway, that's where it kind of just unearthed that from somewhere.
Yeah.
But it was, and so it really helped tremendously to know where it came from and identify it.
And that's one thing that's fascinating about tapping, is it does bring up these things from your subconscious mind that you've had no memory of before. Like, it will literally just bring it to the surface. And in my opinion, it comes to the surface because now you have a tool to handle that memory, right? Let's say you do bring up a trauma from your past that you had completely suppressed, and now it comes to the surface. It means now it's safe to process it. Whereas before you had tapping as a tool, you didn't have that. Your subconscious mind kept that suppressed for a reason, to keep you safe, to keep you from having to face it when you weren't ready for it. But now you're ready for it. And then to go back to what Jody was saying about feeling stronger and stronger and stronger, we like to think of tapping as peeling an onion. So, you know, right before you start tapping, you're a whole onion. And then when you do a tapping session, like, you're peeling off a layer of that. And then the under layer comes to the surface, and then you peel off another layer, and it just keeps coming up and coming up to the surface, and before you know it, you're at your heart, right? You're at your center, and your true self can shine out to the world at that point. So, love it. Pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to tap, and then after that, I'm going to see if you have any questions about that. All right, so we're going to just do some basic tapping. I'm not going to do the finger points like I just showed Jody. So we're going to do the basic tapping points, and I'm going to show you what's called one round of tapping. Okay, so we're going to start with the side of our hand, and it's going to be the outside side of our hand, as if you're going to chop something with a karate chop. So this is called the karate chop point. And so you're going to take all 4 fingers of one hand, and you're going to tap the side of your hand.
Is it your right arm?
You can use either, it doesn't matter if you're right-handed or left-handed, and it doesn't matter which side you tap on. And when we do the points, you also can tap on, like let's say the eyebrow. You can tap on the right side, the left side, or both sides at the same time. It doesn't matter. It will still be effective no matter which way you do it. So you're going to tap on the side of the hand. This is called the karate chop point. And then we're going to go to the eyebrow point. Now this is the inside end of your eyebrow. And you're going to tap right on your eyebrow. So Clive, you might want to take your glasses off if you're wearing glasses. And it's right on that eyebrow bone. And again, you can do one side or both sides. This is called the eyebrow point. And so as I'm tapping through, I might call out a point. I might just say eyebrow, and this is what I mean. And then so Clive, you're going to go a little bit lower, right onto your eyebrow. There you go. And then the side of the eye is going to be the edge of your eye socket bone. And this is called side of eye.
It's actually on the bone.
It's right on the edge of the, so you've got your eye socket, it's right on the edge of the bone. So you're not as far back as your temple, you're further forward, right where the, yeah, and you're lined up with the side of your, like where this pointy part of your eye is. And then under the eye is directly under your pupil, like if you were to go straight under, and again, it's right on the edge of that eye socket bone. Okay. And then under the nose is going to be this little pocket right here, right underneath your nose. And the chin is going to be, so you have this crease in your chin, it's right on the crease. So when I say chin, you're going to be all the way up at that crease point. Some people call this under mouth, but
What do you call this here?
this is called under nose, and this one's called chin. Okay. Right on the crease point. And then the collarbone point. This one is the hardest one to explain. So you have this U shape in your neck or region. You're going to go over a couple inches and down a couple inches, and it will put you right underneath your collarbone. And it's kind of has this little, like you can feel the end of it here. You're touching the under edge of your collarbone.
It's like there's a hole there.
Yeah, there's almost like a little pocket right there. If you were to push up, there's a little, you're putting yourself in your pocket. So you can tap this point with both hands. And sometimes, just to make sure you don't wander too much, sometimes I'll do a U with my hand, like this, and I'll tap with the U with just one hand. And that keeps you at a pretty good distance apart, so you're right on that spot at that point. This is called collarbone point. Okay, so here. Then the next one is underarm. And you're going to just raise one arm and you're going to tap underneath the other. So if you're a female, then it's right on your bra strap. And if you're a male, the way you find it is you take your palm and you stick it in your armpit. And then you take that entire hand length and go right underneath it. And this is called underarm point. So Frank, go up just a smidgen. Go up about an inch. Not you, Frank, that Frank. Frank Senior. Okay, and then the next one is the top of head, and this is right in the center of the top of your head. So if you were to go ear to ear, front to back, this is called top of head. And you can go right in that point. Some people, like afterwards, might want to go in a little baby circle, but top of head. And then we take a deep breath in when we're done. We let that all out. And that is called one round of tapping. And so what we do is we come up with something that's bothering us, and then we do that tapping, and then we check in. I usually check in. So I have questions. Hannah.
So when you were demonstrating this just now, so the tapping under the arm was under the right arm. Would you be doing it on both, or just one?
You can. The only way you can do both. You can do both, but you have to go like this. So it doesn't matter. You can do one side.
That's okay.
Or the other. It doesn't matter which, whether it's left or right. And you can do both if you want to tap like this. That's an option. So you do little. Sometimes when I'm tapping with kids, I do like little monkey things. Okay. We have a question?
Why doesn't it matter which side?
Because you're still getting the same meridian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're still hitting the same meridian.
Wondered that.
Great. Okay, other questions? Yeah, so some general rules for tapping. You want to be hydrated when you do it because you are moving electricity within your body. And so you want to make sure that electricity uses water to, to run. I don't know say what's the right word for that. To transmit through your body. So you want to make sure you're well hydrated. You want to be aware that things can come up when you're doing this. So if that happens, it's not a bad thing. It's just something to be aware of. It's something to take note of. If you don't have time to process that right away, you can set it aside and just come back to it later for some other, journaling and tapping on your own or with a practitioner. So that's an option. So what I want you to do is you're going to think of something that's bothering you. Either a physical issue, a life stressor, something at work that's bothering you, a person in your life that you're angry at, something that is an issue for you, okay? And so once you think of that issue, I want you to get into the emotion of that. Like, how does that make you feel? If it's a pain, how strong is that pain from 0 to 10? These are all going to be on 0 to 10 scales. So you're going to think about how high is that pain from 0 to 10? How high is your anger from 0 to 10? Your sadness, whatever the emotion is. So you can think of an event, and what is the emotion that goes with that event? And you're going to put that in your mind. Like, what is that?
10 being the worst.
10 being the worst, and 0 being it's not there at all. Well, right now, there's going to be a number you wouldn't be using it. So 0 to 10 on that scale.
So 0 is the worst?
No, 0 is there's no issue at all.
Okay.
And 10 being you're completely overwhelmed. And overwhelmed can be, also I've done tapping with people who are just overwhelmed with their workload or that type of stuff. So whatever the issue is, pick something, and you're gonna remember that number, okay? Now you're just gonna set that aside. So don't worry about that. We're gonna put that over there in the back corner of the room, and we'll come back to that later. Okay, now I just want you to check in with yourself and see how high your stress level is. Is anybody stressed? She's like, no, I feel great. How high your stress level is from 0 to 10. And you're going to, we're just going to tap on stress or something general like that. Unless there's something else that's like a pressing issue for you guys that you'd prefer to work on besides stress. As a whole. I'm using stress because it's more general. So we have our specific issues that I just asked you to tune into. We're going to put that aside, and now we're going to work on stress as the whole group. So how high is your stress from 0 to 10? And then I want you to check in with your body. Where is that stress in your body? What does it look like? So get in touch with that feeling. And how high is that stress from 0 to 10?
Are we doing this right now?
Right now. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and check in with yourselves for a second. And then, so you have your number, and I want you to set that aside as well. So I just want you to remember what your numbers are. I want you to remember where you felt in your body, how strong that was, and you'll also have your original issue, okay? So now you're gonna tap along with me. You can say something out loud as I'm tapping. You can say like, oh, I feel such and such, and maybe we can add that in, okay? So go to your karate chop point. And now you're going to echo back to me what I say as you tap, okay? Even though I have all the stress in my body, I deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. Even though I can feel this stress in my body, in my neck, in my back, right here and right now, I am safe. Even though I have all the stress, I deeply and completely Love and accept myself.
Love and accept myself.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Eyebrow point. All the stress in my body.
All the stress in my body.
Side of the eye. The stress in my body.
The stress in my body.
Under the eye. The stress from work.
The stress from work.
Under the nose. The stress from people.
The stress from people.
Chin point. The stress from traffic.
The stress from traffic.
And collarbone point. The stress from things happening in my life.
The stress from things happening in my life.
Under the arm. This anxiety.
This anxiety.
Top of the head. All this stress and anxiety.
All the stress and anxiety.
Eyebrow point. Sometimes it feels overwhelming.
Sometimes it feels overwhelming.
Side of the eye. Sometimes I feel sad.
Sometimes I feel sad.
Under the eye. Sometimes it's hard to bear.
Sometimes it's hard to bear.
Under the nose. The stress in my body.
The stress in my body.
Chin point. I feel so much tension.
I feel so much tension.
And collarbone point. I just need to get it out.
I just need to get it out.
Under the arm. Sometimes I don't feel like I can handle this stress.
Sometimes I don't feel like doing this.
Top of the head. Sometimes I wish it would just end.
Sometimes I wish it would just end.
All this stress.
All the stress.
Eyebrow point. One thing after another.
One thing after another.
Side of the eye. All these things happening at once.
All these things happening at once.
Under the eye. The stress in my body.
The stress in my body.
Under the nose. Maybe I'm open to other options.
Maybe I'm open to other options.
And chin point. I think I could be open to seeing something new.
I think I could be open to seeing something new.
Collarbone point. A new way of realizing what this stress is for. Under the arm. All the stress in my body.
All the stress in my body.
Top of the head. I choose to let all this stress go.
I choose to let all the stress go.
Okay, take a deep breath in. And let it out. Okay. Who would like to share what their starting number was and what their current level number is for stress? None of you said you had stress to begin with, but
Well, I'm not so sure if I really identified what the stress was, but my shoulder doesn't hurt right now.
shoulder doesn't hurt? Okay.
Yeah. But I would associate the pain with my shoulder with playing tennis. However, the way I play is associated with some other reason.
What was the pain in your shoulder from 0 to 10 before we started tapping?
I think probably 9.
9? So you went from 9 to 0 or 9 to what?
Say this again?
Are you now a 0? You don't feel it at all?
No, I think it's maybe like 2.
2? So you went from 9 to 2 on your shoulder pain?
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
It's nice.
It's nice, right?
I don't know if I've already found a real reason.
Yes, now you know why I use tapping. Anyone? Yeah. Does anybody else want to share about stress? Okay, so let's go back to your original issue that you chose for yourself before we chose stress, okay, before we started tapping on stress. And bring that back. So you're going to grab it from the corner of the room where we put it, and you're going to bring it back to yourself. And now, who would like to share what their numbers were and what their issue, if you're willing to share what your issue was that you started with, what was your number before, and then what is your number now?
I'll share. Mine was about a 6 for overwhelm.
6 for overwhelm.
Everything
Okay.
needing to get done. And now I'm about a 1. I'm thinking everything will get done and it's time.
It'll get done when it gets done.
Yeah.
So a 6 to a 1. So we had overwhelm at a 6, and now it's a 1. Okay, and then
Oh,
Todd?
I was about at 5 or 6, feeling vulnerable.
okay, 6 for vulnerable. And what are you now?
2.
2. Okay. So what I did there, does anybody else have a share for what they started with, what their issue was, if you're willing to share? Yeah, the one that you put in the original issue you started with that we put in the corner, bring that back. If you don't mind sharing what your problem or issue was that you had your original 0 to 10 number on. What was your original number and what is it now? Do you remember what your original number was, or?
Yes, I would say 10, but
Okay.
I don't know if it was actually addressed.
So is it still a 10?
I'm not aware of it right now.
You're not aware of the feeling, or?
Right.
Okay. So, but right now you're not feeling a 10. When you think about that same problem that we started with,
Yeah, I don't.
so a 0 or?
It's gone.
It's gone. Okay. So we started with a 10 and now we're not feeling it at all anymore. So now we're at a 0. Okay. So that's the tapping, right?
Same happened to me.
So what happened with you, Marta?
I have an 8.
You had an 8? Okay.
Now I don't remember.
Now do you remember what the problem was, or? Okay.
No, the number was nothing.
Okay. So, but you knew you were at an 8, right?
Before.
Before, and do you know, is it just a 0, or you just don't have any feelings regarding the same issue?
No feeling of a number.
Are you able to think about that same issue that you had? No?
I don't remember.
Doesn't remember, so right, you knew it was an 8. So what I did there was something called borrowing benefits, where we didn't actually even work on that issue, right? We worked on stress, but I had you think about that before we started, which kind of brought that up from your subconscious mind, ready to release that. And then we worked on stress, which is more general, but it still targeted your original issue of a 6 or an 8 or 10, right? So that is, that's what happened. So now you've cleared that from your system. So be warned, something could come up for you later, right? That does happen with tapping. And let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to cover with that. No? Does anybody else want to do any more tapping or have anything specific that you want to work on before our break?
You can tap right in the moment of it, like if you're upset and right.
Exactly.
Do it right then.
Exactly. So let's say you get angry about something or you're feeling really sad about something, you can just start tapping. So what we do is when we, one of the reasons we use words while we tap is to bring up the emotion within us. We have to be firing that amygdala. We have to be upset, or we have to be bringing it up in order to connect it with the calming. So that's the only reason we have to use words at all. So we can actually just be upset or sad or angry.
We make our own up.
Yeah.
Our own words.
Make your own words. So if you're feeling upset, you can use words, or you don't have to use words, is what I'm saying. If you feel sad, you can just tap. And you can say, I'm sad about this thing that happened, or I'm angry about this thing that happened. Or you can just tap because you're feeling it.
Now I notice that when you do it and you use words, you take the problem and you say, oh, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry, whatever. But then you bring it around to some more positive words at the end. Is that always necessary?
No, so you do always need to use the negative, okay? But it's not, well, I shouldn't say you always have to use the negative, but if you have a problem you want to clear, you want to use the negative, right?
You want to identify the problem.
You want to identify a problem, and that's what we're using the tapping for, is to clear the problem. You can just tap positive, but if you want to clear something, you need to use the negative of whatever the issue is, and that's what we're clearing. So we're clearing, I'm upset about, I don't want to say your issue out. I'm upset about this overwhelm. I'm so overwhelmed this is happening, and there's so much to get done, and how am I going to get it done? And then you're going to be calming that down.
And you don't have to verbalize it, right?
You don't have to verbalize it. You can
just be in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're feeling the emotion, the whole point of verbalizing it is to bring up the emotion. So if you already feel the emotion, then just tap. And one thing that people get really stuck on with tapping is they feel like they have to do it right, they have to know what to say, they have to, it has to be perfect or whatever. And that is not at all the case. You just need to tap. So I didn't go over the setup phrases and all of that stuff. So we do the side of the hand, and I did what's called a setup phrase, where I said, even though I have this stress, I have this problem, I have this whatever it is, this overwhelm. And then some type of affirming phrase. I'm okay right now. I love myself anyway. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is okay. I'm okay right now. So we do that 3 times. There's a purpose for that. It's to help with something called energetic reversal, when our energies are actually backwards. So it fixes that. And then we do the tapping on the points. But if you don't remember any of that, just tap. You don't have to remember all the steps. You just have to do the tapping. And if you don't remember all the points, tap on the ones you do remember. So these points actually they're specific to make sure that you get all of the meridians, right? So if you do skip some, you might not get all the meridians, and your issue might not be within that meridian, for example. So that's why we tap on all of the points, is just to make sure that we get all the meridians. So you can even pull up a YouTube video on tapping and just put your issue, come up with your issue, rate it, put it aside, and then tap on something completely different along with somebody on YouTube. And then, like we saw today, right? You put it aside and you tapped on stress, and your original issue went away. So it's the same thing. So you can bring it up in yourself, watch a YouTube video if that's more comfortable for you than tapping on your own, right? And then tap through and then bring that back. Then how do you feel about your original issue? And it really just, as you're peeling the onions, more and more things can come up. Did anybody's number get worse? Evelyn's got worse.
I felt more emotions.
Felt more emotions. Okay, so what that means is she peeled that onion back and she brought something up from her subconscious mind, and now she's ready to work on that. Now we need to get. So when it goes up, that's not a bad thing. That actually happens a lot in one-on-one sessions, because I'm trying to trigger that. I'm trying to get that up from underneath, right? Trying to unbury whatever the deeper issue is. Because sometimes anger could be the emotion, but underneath that anger is deep sadness, right? So there could be something underneath that's really just like, I'm angry at my sister, but underneath here it's, I'm just really sad about, whatever, lack of connection or something, right? So there could be something else that's there that you're bringing up from tapping when you get rid of that original top issue.
I wasn't really feeling any pain or anything about the issue before.
Mm-hmm.
And God damn it, you made me feel it.
Right? So we have 2 who are like, now you're feeling it.
Open your mouth.
So now you're ready to process that. Good for you. Congratulations.
Well, that's like me bawling my head off for session after session
Okay.
after session, because it would trigger deep stuff, and then
Yeah.
and then throughout the week it would get better and better, and lighter and lighter.
Right.
I'm so glad that you're doing this, because I forgot that I had this tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I worked through all the issues at the time,
Right.
and then go on with life.
And then
when you need it the most, you forget. Oh, I have these tools.
The same thing happens to me. I will forget to tap or use my essential oils, or I'll forget my tools, like when you're in the midst of whatever your throes of your emotion, and you completely forget to, right? Forget to use them.
She hadn't talked about her cell. I wouldn't have condemned her. I mean, this cell is coming up. I'm thinking, Jody can get this too. So
Okay? I had it for every single session for like the first year.
Do you remember a session that didn't happen?
I think maybe one or two toward the end,
Yeah.
toward the end when I was feeling lighter, you could talk about the same issues and there was no trigger there whatsoever.
Right, if it's the same issue, because now you've cleared it all,
Yeah.
but you bring up a different issue and there
Yeah,
might be
okay.
something else there, right?
That's all right.
I cry almost every session too, right? Like I had a session this morning and yeah, just deep emotion was coming up in me, right? So.
And really weird stuff. I remember back when we would talk about what was coming up for us and weird memories they don't really mean anything like from your childhood. Like I remember your sombrero thing, like just little simple
Sombrero
little
story.
things that come up and you think, well, what is that all about? And then it all comes clear, you know.
Right, or like like Todd didn't remember that his mom put soda in his baby bottle, right? But then as he's tapping,
Sippy cup, that's different.
sippy cup, okay, sippy cup. I think baby bottle too, actually, that's why I'm thinking it. So then he remembered,
Far back.
yeah, sippy cup. So Jody's referring to a story that I had told.
I was tapping on shopping addiction for myself, and I was tapping on like my eBay addiction. But there's certain questions you can ask yourself, like, what am I getting from having this, right? Well, I'm getting what I want, right? I'm getting, like, that's what I get from having this addiction. Okay, now push your phone away. And you can do this with food, any addiction, right? You can say, what am I getting? And then push that away. Well, now what's happening? Well, now I'm not getting what I want, right? And then, okay, well, what's coming up? Well, when I was a little kid, and I was in Mexico with my family, and there was a sombrero I wanted, and my parents wouldn't let me get it, and there was no reason why I couldn't. It wasn't like it was expensive. It was just this giant sombrero, and I wanted it, and I couldn't have it because they said no. And so, it went back to that, and it brought up all these emotions of like, I didn't get my sombrero. So.
And to this day, I joke about it. If there's a moment like that, I go, this is a sombrero. And she just looks at me.
He's like, do you want me to buy you a sombrero?
So that's what happens is these memories come up and you're like, oh, okay. So it ties to, like, and that's what happened. It was happening with my session this morning as it was time. We actually went into a past life regression as part of that session where we, went through something that happened in a past life, and then how does that tie with what's happening in my current life, and just the emotions were the same, and what was happening in the story was the same, not the same exact story, but the theme, underlying emotional theme of the story was the same in both present and this past life. So, and bringing up all of those emotions in the session. So yeah, there's a lot you can do with it. A lot you can do within a tapping session. So I do love to work. I love to work one-on-one with people and just get in there, get into their subconscious mind.
And you are extraordinary at it, I have to
Thank
say.
you.
You really have a talent for it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that. So I do have business cards. And so does anybody have any other questions before we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to do our meditation and our guided meditation and our invisible counselor.
So I do have a question. If my issue, instead of it getting worse, it kind of stayed the same, but there was definitely a realization that I'm obviously getting some benefit from it. So,
So there's a couple things that can
in my
happen.
body, and it's one identified as a big issue,
Okay.
but I've been carrying it for a long time, so I kind of manage it pretty well.
So there's a couple things that are happening there. One is with tapping, you need to be very specific. And I mean, most of you still saw benefit from being general, like I did very general tapping, but in your case, we'd want to get very specific and keep asking more questions and getting deeper and bringing up the underlying things from inside the onion, right, inside the subconscious mind, and where did that start, and is there a memory that's tied to that, whatever the issue is that goes back to the first time. So I'm going to ask you a question. When is and you don't have to answer this, but something to think about. When is the first time, whatever the feeling is that you're feeling with regard to that issue, you have an emotion that goes with that? So what is the first time in your life that you remember feeling that emotion? Or feeling that way?
It's been pretty prevalent, just kind of a theme of life.
Theme of life. So, right? So if it's a theme of life, you can go back in time to the first time you felt that way, or some, even if it's not necessarily the first time, an event that pops into your head that is similar in theme, right? Carries the same theme for you. And then that's what you need to tap on. You need to tap on that memory. Instead of, and you're going to completely put aside your present moment issue, and you're going to go back to when you were 5 and such happened, and you're going to tap on that specific issue. And all the emotions that happened that you feel toward that thing happening, and what somebody said, and what happened, and all of that, how that tie, well, not necessarily, it will tie back, because your subconscious mind is giving you that for a reason. It's a gift to you, right, to tell you that that's what's causing that. So does that make sense? So that's what needs to happen. If you're not seeing any movement on your numbers, you need to tie it back to what's the first time you've ever felt that way, and that's what you need to work on.
And it's surprisingly pretty early memories, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I
young
worked,
childhood,
yeah.
a lot, or early teen.
Yeah, or even things that are not even necessarily in conscious memory. I've worked with a woman who, she just knew that she had a difficult birth. When she was born, it was a very difficult birth, and she knew that because her parents told her that. And it was one of the most interesting sessions I've ever done, because I'm just like, well, we're going to go through the birthing process, and you're going to tell me what's happening. And so she's like, well, this is what I'm thinking. And so we just went with it and went with it, and it got deeper and deeper, and yeah, absolutely, like cleared all kinds of stuff for her. So, Evelyn.
One of the things when you said issues, I have sciatica.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of pain in my hip and stuff. And it's horrible,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Sciatica's
But
painful.
it's also very good.
Uh-huh.
I get lots of nice attention from my husband and,
Mhm.
all these work
Right.
So, and, being a psychologist, I know this,
Yeah.
And so when you said to put it over there, I thought, I'm not sure I want to.
I don't want to give up my problem. And that goes back to, what are you getting for having a problem? What is the benefit of having your problem? And what is the downside to getting rid of your problem? The benefit is you're getting attention.
Well, yeah,
Right?
I may not get that much attention, and I know this in my head, and I tell him that all the time. And yet, there is a reward
Mm-hmm.
for the pain.
Exactly. And a lot of people who have much, much bigger illnesses than that, right, who are like bedridden even, you know what I mean? Many people have these physical issues because somebody takes care of them, right? Somebody's there for them. Somebody's doing things for them.
Elderly people,
Mm-hmm.
and as an elderly person, we cannot allow ourselves to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can take care of ourselves. We can do a lot of things ourselves, but it's so wonderful to have him fix my breakfast and different
Uh-huh.
things, and get the dog off the cart. I mean, these are wonderful things.
Mhm.
So
Now he's not going to do it.
So did you realize that before we did the tap before, or we went through this today? Did you realize that that was a benefit for you?
yes, I did.
Okay.
When we were talking about how we
Uh-huh.
get rewards from negative things,
Yeah.
I thought about that. Then you said, put it over here, and I thought,
Yeah.
Why you should let it go away?
If she runs
wanna
a
put it over
marathon,
there.
you still make her breakfast and take the dog off of that?
oh yeah, he did all that today, and I
He
think
needs stepping now.
if I was in a nursing home, you could do
Yeah.
all this.
So you're getting a benefit of somebody doing things for you when you have pain or when you're having this issue because you can't do it yourself, right? So,
I know this,
mm-hmm,
and I've known it for some time, but I can't seem to get to the thought for it
mm-hmm.
to get it out. But maybe it's too well balanced.
So we do tapping on, so then rather than tapping on the pain, now we take it to the next level. The next level of, I want somebody to take care of me, right? I need to be cared for. And that can bring us to a whole nother level of, well, why do you need to be taken care of? Like, what are you lacking in your life, right? Or what was this up? We can even take that to childhood, right? When we go back to being a child and why do you need to be taken care of, going back then, or a different time in your life that you needed to
I
be.
can go back in my childhood to when I was 2 years old. I had typhoid fever,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, I was the center of everything.
Center of attention when you had typhoid fever. That's perfect, right? Yeah.
There's that. I'm sure that came.
Yeah, and you learned when you were 2 that if I'm sick, I'm going to be the center of attention.
Yes.
And this feels really good because it feels a lot better than being one of many, right? One of myself and all my siblings, and oh, but when I'm sick, everybody is doting over me and caring for me.
I'm pretty sure it comes from that time.
Mm-hmm. So then we would go back to when she was 2, and we would tap on that experience from when she was 2, and everybody was doting on her, and she loved the attention, and we would get into that emotion, right, and clear that need for that. Yeah.
I was just wondering if it's some sort of electrical connection thing that we're doing to jog our subconscious. Is that what's happening?
Well, we have and it's completely shifting your energy within your body. And then, yeah, it's connecting your body with your brain, your mind-body connection. We actually store our memories within our fascia. So the fascia being that connective tissue that's like underneath your skin. So I think it's in between like your muscles and your skin, right? You've got fascia. That's where our memory is stored. It's energetically stored within our bodies. It's not just stored in some place in the brain, right? People, that's the standard belief is that memories are stored in the brain, but they're all over our bodies. You can have a memory in your toe, right? So, yeah, So when you tap it and you're shifting all of that energy within the body, it's moving it. Yeah, so just keep tapping. I tap every day.
When you told the story about the birth experience, I remember having an experience with you because I was having these unexplainable anxieties, like of abandonment, like irrational. Even my brain knew it was irrational, like hearing a siren and having anxiety. And it went back to the birth, all the way back to being a preemie in the incubator. And I could see people walking by and me being like, and they just walk by. But I mean, it's just, how would you ever know that if you didn't have access to?
Right, because it brings up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't. You would never remember that. I mean, maybe you could some other way, but you're
frustrated at why is this happening? I have no understanding of it,
But isn't that fascinating, right? You feel abandoned, but now you're in a crib and you're in an incubator by yourself and everybody's left, right? Or they're all walking away. Because when you're a child, when you're a baby, that's not supposed to be the case. You're supposed to be in your mom's arms and you're supposed to be right there. She's supposed to be there next to you, or she's supposed to be swaddling you or whatever. You're not supposed to be in some incubator without your family. So, yeah.
Well, then I asked my mom about it. She said, yeah, they whisked you away and for 2 weeks we didn't get to touch.
Wow, okay.
So.
And you had remembered that from tapping, from doing the tapping with me? Okay.
No, I had memories of being in the incubator when we tapped, being the baby.
Yeah. And did you know that was?
I knew that I had a pretty difficult birth, but I didn't.
But you didn't know that you were in an incubator for 2 weeks.
I didn't know that whole part until I went to my mom and said, "Oh my God, I had this amazing session with Leslie when this experience about being born." And she was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. They just came and got you, took you away, and then because my mom flatlined, so they kept her separate, dealing with her.
Okay.
And it just didn't let us see each other, I guess.
It's like those things give me goosebumps, right? Like it's so like, crazy. Yeah.
I just remembered when you were talking to Frank about, go back, right? So what it really triggered with me was a lucid dream I had. I think I must have been around 12 or 11, but basically I woke up after a very vivid visual of being in a tsunami, right? And the tsunami, I lived in England, most of the time it's raining and everything like that, but this visual was this beach, white sand, with palm trees and huts, the huts with the palm fronds on, then like a bluff, so you were in a bay, you were in sort of a bay, nice, but the sky was really bright, so you don't get sun like that in England. You don't get that, that like you get here in the summer where everything's pretty bright. It was kind of like Thailand or something. And basically the tsunami hit, and I was with somebody I loved very much, very, very close to. And I kind of woke up knowing that I was separate from them and I couldn't get back.
Okay.
So it was like a frustration because I was separated from this person, And I think it really follows through, you know, things I've experienced.
Things in your life when you have felt separated,
Yeah,
right? So now your subconscious is telling you that in a dream,
yeah,
that, you know, this feeling that you have anyway in your life from things that have happened in your life when you were separated from people. And now your subconscious is bringing up this dream where you're in a tsunami and now you're separated from people in your dream. Love the subconscious mind.
How often do past life memories come up with tapping, do you think?
It really depends on, you can kind of steer it that direction, but if you're not, then it's just really up to the subconscious mind to offer that to you. So in the session I had this morning, that was actually just part of the session. We knew that we were going to do that, right? So we started with the past life regression before we even.
Do you work with someone yourself, or do you do your own?
I do both. I work with somebody myself, yeah, because I always have more to work on. There's always more to work on. It's never ending, right?
The never-ending onion.
There's never any onion, and you can keep improving yourself. So we use it for problems, right? But if I want to use it for the session I had this morning, is because I have 3 books that I've written, mostly written, right, and they're not published. So I wanted to explore that. I want to explore, well, why are these not published, and get into like, well, what am I keeping myself safe from that is out there if I publish these books? And so that's what I wanted to explore. So you can use tapping as a way to improve your life, not just work on a problem that you have or an issue or a pain, or it can also be used for a greater moving forward from where you are. So, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, we're going to take about 5 minutes, and then we're going to start the meditation.